If your business has a creativity gap, Nir Bashan is the trainer who's about to fix it. He'll stretch your thinking, challenge your strategy, and help you lead with innovation. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being here. So, like in my notes, I noticed that you talk about creativity as a business tool, not as an artistic one, which I found really interesting. So, what does that mean in practical terms?
Definitely. So, for me, creativity and innovation are not about dance or art or drawing or museums or whatever, although that's certainly part of creativity. The overall spectrum of creativity and innovation is really a business tool that we can use to solve problems at work and beyond. And so, my version of creativity and my version of innovation is really a set of problem solving tools that will enable anybody, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, from, a network guy, cyber security, all the way to, the accountants and the engineers and the miners of the world. It allows you to to use actionable items to make creativity happen in your day-to-day life.
So, how do you define creativity in a corporate setting?
Really, really good question. So for me, creativity is all about, especially in a corporate environment, is all about problem solving. It is all about giving solution. Mike, you and I both know we've been doing this a long time, and hats off to you for being super prepared and all this research that you've done on your guests. Your show's incredible. This is about finding solution, and anybody can say what's wrong. And you know this, you've managed people your whole life. Anybody at work can say, you know what? Like, this is wrong and that's wrong and this is not going right and that's not going right. And that's the start and the stop of most people's comments. We have a gap between coming up with, hey, that's wrong or that's wrong, and then transitioning that into here's how to fix it. And what we need in the corporate environment, which creativity drives, is the ability to recognize not only the problem, which 99% of the population can do. Fantastic. You've recognized the problem. Great. We need people to now begin to offer solutions. What can we do about that? There is a bad switch in the network, and we've talked to a couple of different vendors, and what do we do to fix that? There's a gap in the accounting. It's just not working right. This audit didn't come in the way we wanted. What can we do about that? This steel pipe manufacturer is not putting the right coating on it for some reason. What can we do about that? Coming up with solutions is the creative and innovative part that I help people implement.
That's exactly, excuse me, that's exactly what I used to do with my team. I mean, I figured out at one point that I was the problem with my team. I was getting in the way of things. But one of the fixes that I did was, of course, give them the ability to do their job. And then but as a result of that, if someone came to me and said, hey, the software we're working on, well, this part is terrible and this part is terrible and that part is terrible, I'd say, do you think that those comments are helpful?
Yeah.
And then they'd say, I'm pointing out problems. Exactly. Anyone. And I tell them exactly what you said. Anyone can point out problems. You need to come to me and say, this part's no good. Here's how we can fix it. This part's no good. Here's how we can fix it. And this part over here has to be fixed because it's a performance issue. And I made them, going forward, I made them that for every problem they brought me, they needed to provide me at least one solution for the problem. Because in my opinion, I love that you're using creativity as like a moniker for that, because it forces them to think beyond oh, this is broken. We need to fix something. Well, great. How are we going to fix it? And maybe you'll get to see, like, one of my big things was when I would run meetings, we would have a section called what's working and what's not. And then the things that were not working obviously had to be fixed. And I would assign people to be the key stakeholder for that issue. And maybe the, I don't know, the mail server was having problems. And I might take the lead tech support person who has nothing to do with that and put them in as the key stakeholder, because I want them to see what the other team goes through fixing the problem. And that's what this kind of, when you tell them, all right, great, when you see a problem, bring me a solution, it makes them realize how difficult it is to come up with a solution for some of these problems. And then they become less critical. Because what I have seen is when you just let people come to you and say, oh, this is broken, that's broken, that's broken, then that's all they ever do is complain about things that are broken. I even used to tell them, if you don't like something about the way I run the department, that's great. That's a problem. Come tell me a solution. I'll be glad to listen. I mean, I'm not married to these concepts, where I'm the leader. I'm not the king,
Right. Yeah, there's a big difference between, that's just the thing. So I talk in my book, I've got a new book coming out with Wiley and Sons, December 31st of this year.
Oh,
which, depending on where you are, thank you. Depending on where you are, maybe New Year's Day, depends, right? It could be a few hours each way. The book is called The Solution Mindset. It'll be available everywhere. It's available now for pre-order. So you can go on Amazon, Walmart, wherever you like to buy books. It's there. It'll be in the bookstore. It'll be on pre-order until December 31st. But one of the things I talk about in the book is exactly what you're saying now. I tell people, here's how to fix things and find a path forward to a problem. Identifying a problem is only kind of half the roadmap. The second half is coming up with 2 or 3 ideas. And that, Mike, I think is super fun and super cool because it empowers people to be able to say, you know what? The solution is up to me. The process which we go about fixing the mail server is up to me. I get to come up with a really great idea, and it empowers people to put that kind of, privilege on their own shoulders. At first, when you look at it, you go, oh, that's more work. I'm a network guy. Why am I doing the mail server? Whatever it is. But what ends up happening is that people get empowered and they start to go, wow, this is the coolest place I've ever worked, because the problems are identified by us all, but the solution will come from me working on it. There's a lot of burnout today. There's a lot of people, hopping different jobs, same poop, different toilet, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to go to this other place and it's going to be amazing. They get there. I have the research on it, Mike. It's crazy. The research is showing us that in the last 2 years, post-COVID, last 2 years, people who have left a job to go to another job for whatever reason, more pay, more respect, better position, all of this stuff, regret not staying where they were and working on fixing problems.
Absolutely.
Because they find that wherever they went, it was the same thing. Now, how do we counter that? We counter that by doing exactly what you used to do with your team and exactly what you act as a proponent in your programs, is we empower individuals to then solve these problems and take the responsibility and the privilege of being able to solve these problems to move forward in an ownership-based environment. And that's what we need more of. We need a bunch of staff and people engaged, owning the problems and having the ability to solve them without us being constantly on top of them, constantly micromanaging. That's how you prevent burnout. That's how you get more creative and innovative solution in your everyday work.
100%. And what ends up happening is when you do this, what's working, what's not working, for one thing, you're giving every month, when you have your monthly meeting, you're giving people a pat on the back for, hey, this worked really well. Good job. This one's broken. We need to fix it. But then, you get someone like taking that network engineer and having him help with that issue. He then, if he sits on the help desk one day and he gets a phone call about an issue, he understands exactly what the other person needs to hear in order to solve the problem because they've worked together. And I think too many times people silo their people.
100%.
And that is not a recipe for good productivity. So, I see a lot of leaders, I coach executives and they don't think they're creative. Where do you think that mindset comes from?
So we have a fundamental breakdown in creativity in our schools and just our general institutions. What ends up happening is kids are super creative. NASA does a test where they test this creative, problem solving. You're in space, you have a screw, it doesn't fit in a hole. What do? Right? And it turns out that, 5, 6, 7 year olds test way higher on this creativity thing than high school kids. I think they test in the 90th percentile of genius, right? And then high school kids, by the time they get to that age, can't figure out what to do with the screw. Where's the instructions? And, they get a little bit jaded. It turns into a whole, it's somebody else's fault, and the finger pointing and all of that stuff that we have acquired and that we do on a day-to-day basis at work, right? It's not my fault. It's the system admin's fault. It's not the system admin's fault. It's the guy in finance. I don't know. So we have gone away from our innate skills, and we got to get back at it. I too coach a bunch of Fortune 500 executives, all the way from Dutch Brothers Coffee to Fisher Scientific and Cardinal Health. Great people who are looking to embed creativity and re-embed innovation in their day-to-day work. What has happened is we were all born creative, and it's something that I talk about in my new book, The Solution Mindset, out December 31st with Wiley and Sons, available anywhere books are sold. One of the things that I talk about in that book is that scientists have recently found there's something like 34 or 36 chromosomes in our DNA that are directly responsible for creativity and innovation. It's hardwired into us to come up with solutions to problems that are in front of us. But we have grown up and come through a world, Mike, that is dedicated to data. It worships the altar of anything that can be expressed in numbers. And what we have, 100%, right? And we have just kind of taken the data and the analytics and held it so high up. And we've devalued problem solving and empathy and all of the things, the soft skills, so-called soft skills that help us deal with things. And we're out of balance. We're too analytical and we're not creative enough. And what we need to do is start to balance out the creative and the analytics. And that is what I coach and help people do. That is what I do numerous keynotes across the country. I'm doing one this coming week with an IT group in Colorado that is so analytical. They're so good at the data, right? They're so good at the processes and the channels and the workflows. So good. I mean, master level analytical IT people, but they need help and they need encouragement to grow and to remember that creative side that's deep within us. And so that balance is what we need to be able to do more of. Balance out the creative and the analytical so that we can solve problems in a better way. There are many problems that analytics alone will not solve. And without having the component of creativity to help us solve them, we will forever not get where we need to go.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I mean, I see it. I actually see it in today's political society. I think like people get like this idea in their head that a certain thing happened or didn't happen. And regardless of any data that you can provide them, they don't want to listen. So it's kind of the opposite of the problem you're talking about, where, people are like, oh, I want more data. I need more data. I need more data. And I tell that to my team all the time. You guys are paralyzed by this mindset of, I have to have more data before I can make this decision. You've got enough data to make the decision. Just make the decision. Let's talk about the tools that you developed. You developed 92 tools for creative problem solving. So how did you go from an abstract idea to concrete systems?
Basically, I spent 7 years writing my first book, 7 long years. It's called The Creator Mindset, and it is a 92 tools to solve problems and get more creative. That took 7 long years to write. It was out by McGraw-Hill, right at COVID. I mean, literally right in the middle of COVID, the book hit. And the feedback from that book has been, Nir, this is great. We love it. How do we like actually use the tool? And the new book, The Solution Mindset, is all about using those tools. So the way that I came up with them is I spent many, many years admiring people who were creative. And I'd ask them, hey, how did you come up with this incredible product or solving this amazing problem? And nobody ever told me what they were doing because they thought it was like a secret sauce. And they were like, oh, no, stay away from that. You know, that's my proprietary thing. And the more I started uncovering, the more I realized that not only that not proprietary, Mike, it's something that we all have in us that we need to retrain, we need to reuse, we need to come back to. And that's kind of how I came about those processes. I've run my own companies for many years, worked for other people, and came up with a series of tools that will help people no matter what they do, from IT to engineering, from, you know, the mining business all the way to accounting, on how to become more innovative and creative no matter what they do.
That's excellent. I mean, it's coming up with systems from an abstract idea isn't always simple to do. So do you think that creativity can be measured or tracked in the same way that we track performance and productivity?
Absolutely, but the numbers are different, right? The metrics look different. Like a standard KPI would say, hey, you know, this is the percent of sales per year. The creative metric looks a little bit different. It's trackable. It is definitely measurable. But the systems that we have today aren't capable of really measuring anything but, you know, the sales numbers and the growth numbers and stuff like that. And I'll give you a really good example. And it's in my book, which is The Solution Mindset, coming out with Wiley & Sons December 31st on pre-order now. When you listen to this podcast, please go get a copy. Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever you buy books. American Airlines in the early 80s had a program called the AA Pass. Okay, AA Pass. All right. And they did a ton of research, I think several years of research. And the data showed that they could price some ticket at some really high amount and that very few people would buy it. And the people that would buy it would be like a gold mine of profit for the airline. And this is what the program was. It was a pass. You paid, I think it was $250,000 or, you know, $500,000. This is back in the 80s. So like adjusted for inflation, it'd be like $10 million today. I mean, not that much, but it would be very, very expensive given all the inflation going on. And the data showed them that very few people would buy the pass, that people who had that kind of money flew private anyway. They didn't need to fly, you know, American Airlines, a scheduled service, on and on and on and on and on and on. And literally that data that they had was completely wrong. It was completely wrong. There was 2 or 3 people that used the pass nonstop. They would go to Tokyo on the weekend just to have lunch and fly back. It gave you a first-class ticket, and they used it nonstop. American Airlines is still litigating these cases, because they sold people the pass. These people are using it from the 80s, and at last I checked, and the numbers are in the book, something like $1 billion of loss on 5 or 6 customers that use the pass nonstop. So the data system and the way that we look at our decision making is completely broken. We need to balance creative and analytical tools to get a complete picture of what's going on. The data will never show you that there is a guy in Chicago whose life mission is to fly every freaking day, if he could possibly do it, and pay $5 or $500,000 for that privilege. And there's somebody in Detroit and Denver who feel the exact same way. And what do we do with this customer? How do we do it? How do we move forward, be profitable, but still offer the service? It's not in the existing data set. So we need to forever change the way that we look at numbers, forever change the way that we look at analytics, balance it with a creative mindset, with a solution mindset, and figure out a way to make better decisions. When we ignore stuff like, hey, this guy would do it just to get every single dollar back and then some. And this guy who would do it from an emotional reason, just because, he wants to go to Tokyo or, France every weekend for whatever reason. And there's that person, who just loves to be in an airplane and will fly back and forth all day and do their phone calls and their work or whatever, email from the airplane just to be 30,000 feet up. Those things don't show up in any kind of data sheet. It's just something that you know from knowing human nature. And until we balance those two things, human nature and our quest for analytics, we'll never get to where we are. Creativity is a window and a key to unlock why it is that human beings do what they do, so that we can better balance out our analytical structures.
So you say that creativity is like a muscle. So what are the reps? Like what does a workout look like?
It's a really good question. So there's tons of reps in my new book, The Solution Mindset. Basically, one thing that we could all do right now, Mike, that your audience can do right this second, is start to be a little bit more conscious of our language. The English language has a 6-to-1 ratio of negative words to positive words. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
6-to-1.
We probably also have 10 words for every negative word. There's probably 10 of them too that mean the same thing, but they're just different words.
100%. So for every good, we have like bad, horrible, sucks, terrible, right? On and on and on and on. And so I had some research done, and I looked across the world. I think we studied something like 56 different languages or something like that. And we found there's a ratio between 3-to-1 and 20-to-1, just like you were saying, in every language on earth.
Wow.
And it comes from an ancestral, the research out on that, I don't know where it comes from. I think it comes from some kind of ancestral beginning where don't eat that yellow, grape. It's bad. You'll die. It's horrible. There needed to be more words to describe negative things. Okay. Fast forward to today. You get an email from a vendor, right? And he's talking about how there's software on the Switch and it's a really good software and you guys should use it. And you look at it and you go, Jeremy, the software sucks and it's not working as it was reported. It's not connecting to the network, your name. And you hit send, right? That's a normal email. And you're hoping to prod him so that he gets on it and fixes the problem. But what I'm suggesting is we start to watch our language. We start to watch what words we're using. And instead of choosing the negative ones, we choose the positive ones. Now, I've done this with corporate clients before in a controlled study for a week. A week at a time. And what we noticed is not only the employee morale going up, people going, hey, I'm actually excited about going to work now, but the cooperation between different departments that are kind of siloed, when we take out the negative words and we choose positive words, increases. The other really cool thing we found is that if you send that email to Jeremy and you use positive word, Jeremy, we noticed that, hope you're doing well, hope the family's good, and, everything's going great. We noticed that this thing is not, connected to the network. Could be ours. Could be yours. If you could look into it, that would be great. Call me up. Let's collaborate. That will make him call you and go, you know what, man, I'm really sorry. Here's a coupon. I think it's our fault. Don't pay. This month is, all of this amazing thing don't happen if we choose negativity. But when we choose positivity, we open the door to collaboration. We open the door to understanding, to a different world. If we operate with the sense of care and attention and growing our community, Jeremy might be your next job. You might go to that Twitch manufacturer because he remembers what a cool client. The guy said, hey, it might be my fault, might be your fault. Let's figure this thing out together. Those open doors that will forever be open to you only because you chose to use different language. Mike, we text people every day. We write emails. We're in constant communication with each other. If your listeners can do one thing today, to usher in creativity and innovation in everything that they do is to take out the negative words that they're using and replace them with positive words. The transformation is incredible.
You know, you made me think just this morning, I have a car that I've been paying on for a few years, and it's my son's car now. Like I gave it to him when we moved here to Vegas 3 years ago, but I've been continuing to make the payments, and the final payment was processed today. But a month ago, after the last payment, I got an email saying, "Hey, just to let you know, your next payment is going to be $18 more than your normal payment, and we've adjusted your auto pay to take care of them." I'm like, "Hey, no problem, whatever, and then the final payment, see ya." Then this morning I get a receipt and it shows me the actual regular payment. So I call, and of course it's showing I still owe them $18. And so I get through to a human, and she keeps saying things like, "No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong." Well, you know what that's doing to me. It's making me more and more angry.
100%.
And irate. But in the bottom line, this was what killed me. I finally said to her, "Look, can we just pay this $18? I just want to get it out of the way." And she goes, "Well, normally there's a fee, but because there's been this issue, we'll waive the fee." And she says, what card or account number, to give me the last 4 digits, do you want to use? So I give her the number that's literally on the receipt. And she says, "Oh, that account's not in your file." So I said, "Ma'am, the payment was processed with that." "No, you're wrong."
Ah.
And I finally said to her, "Ma'am, how can I be wrong? I'm reading the receipt that was sent by your company." So it sounds like maybe you were wrong. So anyway, long and short of it, we got the payment made. And at the end of the whole thing, she said, "Is there anything else you can help me with?" And I was so mad. I just said, "Thank God, no, there isn't. Have a great day." And I hung up the phone, because she could have handled that a lot differently. "Oh, really? I'm so sorry that they told you that and then we didn't follow through, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." But instead it was right away. "You're wrong. You're wrong." And the negativity, it really gets under your skin,
It does.
So can you share maybe a real world story where a client trained the muscle and they saw results?
Yeah, definitely. So, I worked with some amazing brands who have, followed stuff like using the language, to improve their results. One issue that I think is incredible is the effect of positivity and looking at things in a positive way when given the choice of how to move forward. So I worked with a company that needed to, they had kind of like a tiered model, like a gold, silver, bronze sort of thing, and they needed to kind of get more people involved with the gold product because it made more money. And the team was kind of depressed about people buying the bronze and, hey, how do we upcharge them and stuff like that. So I started to think about the Olympics. Started to think a lot about the Olympics because they have their good, better, best program. And at the Olympics, the research over the last 100 years has shown that first place finishers are generally super happy and, they love it. And second place finishers are generally super depressed, right? Only thing that they can think about was the fact that they missed out to first place, and way more happy and way more overcome with emotion and joy and reverence, even 10, 20, 30 years after they win a medal, are the bronze medalists. Those are the most happy people at the Olympics. Why? Because they don't think, "Oh, I came in second, I couldn't come in first." They think, "How cool, I was in 7th place, and then I made it to 3rd place, and up on the podium, I saw my flag," So with working with this group, I told them, "Guys, this is what's going on at the Olympics. If we change the modality and the mindset or the bronze package, then get people really excited about thinking not only did you win an account, but you almost lost it because you almost came in 4th, 5th, or 6th place because somebody else might have done it. What we saw was productivity levels went up. All of the measurable metrics went up. People looked at the clients coming in, picking that base product as a wonderful opportunity of positivity. When we put a positive spin on what ends up happening to us, we have the ability to grow it into a silver package or a gold package. Not always, but sometimes. And changing our perspective from one of negativity to positivity, a hallmark of creative thinking. Creativity dies in negativity. It dies in pessimism. It dies when, somebody tells you you're wrong on the phone, right? That there's no environment of creativity that can happen there. When we're positive, we look at our results and we notice that where we're at is way better than what we give ourselves credit for. And I help this company realize that even if a lot of people are picking that third tier, they're still not picking you and not someone else. And that's a reason to celebrate. And it just took the weight off of people's shoulders, front line, just the weight off of their shoulders, enabled them to hold their head up a little bit higher, have a little bit more joy and energy and positivity in their work, which of course led to more of the silver and the gold, the higher end packages that were making more money.
All from reframing the thinking.
100%.
And that's a really, it's kind of funny that you brought that up, because about 3 years ago, we started a community that we called the Small Business Bootcamp. And the concept was to bring small business owners and entrepreneurs together, help them have a place to discuss ideas, get some marketing assistance, etc. And it wasn't working. Like, nobody was joining. And so we started to do more market research than we had previously done. And what it came down to, believe it or not, small business owners, when we would advertise it, we would make mention of entrepreneurs, and they'd say, I'm a small business owner. I'm not an entrepreneur. This isn't for me. And then entrepreneurs would say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. This isn't for me. And so I sat there one day, I remember, for like 3 hours trying to figure out a creative solution to the problem, because, now you have a domain name that's there. You have all this stuff that would have to be moved, and you have to change all these old posts because they're sitting out there pointing to the wrong link, or else you have to put forwards in. And I'm like, I don't know what the simplest solution is. So I said, let's try something. And I took some of the ad creative that we had, and I put a red line through small business, and I changed it to entrepreneurs. So it said and then in handwriting, entrepreneurs with small business crossed out, bootcamp. We put it out, and all of a sudden people started joining. All I did was reframe how they were thinking about the offer by one little thing. And it's all it took, which was crazy to me, because you think about it. We could have renamed the entire thing, reframed how we relaunched the whole thing. All I did was put out new ads with a line drawn through small business and handwritten in entrepreneurs, and suddenly people joined. Crazy, right?
That's crazy.
What's the one creative habit or mindset shift that you think every leader should start practicing today before their business becomes irrelevant?
I think we have, I don't know, Mike, I think we have a modern love affair with success. And we want people to believe that we were just born successful, and that everything that we've done in our entire life has been successful. And if you look at social media, you see people on a yacht somewhere in, the south of France. You see people jet setting all over the world, sitting in first class. You see all of these wonderful success stories. Hey, we launched this book. It's on a bestseller, and all this stuff. And what we're not talking about enough in the business community right now is our failures. And one thing I think we need to embrace is the pathway of failures that we have learned and developed to get us to where we are today. And starting to talk about more of, hey, these are the 3-4 things that I did that didn't work. I put out this, this ad, and I put entrepreneurs, I alienated the small business owner. I put out this thing for small business owners and I alienated the entrepreneur. That type of discussion and that type of discourse, I think it's exactly what we need more of in the community today. And I think it's perfectly okay to talk about the process, perfectly okay to talk about how you got there, and show people creatively how you overcame those issues to get to where you are. I think it's an incredible benefit that very, very few people talk about. And it's something that we need to get out there more and more.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So this has been a great conversation. Why don't you let the listeners know where they can connect with you if they'd like to find out more about you?
I am very easy to find. It's Nir Bashan. There's 3 of us in the entire world. NIRBASHAN. There's a guy uploading like Roblox videos. That's not me. There's another guy who's like an engineer. That's not me. I'm really easy to find. NirBashan.com. My email's on there. Send me an email. Guys, let me know what you think. I love to hear from listeners from all over the world. What a wonderful podcast, Mike. Thank you for having me. The book is coming out December 31st. It's called The Solution Mindset. It is the Wiley & Sons release. They are the oldest continuous publisher in the United States, and it's a deep honor to be on their publishing roster. The book will be available anywhere. It's called The Solution Mindset. It is available on pre-sale now. Go get a copy. This is an exceptional book that will help you become more creative and innovative no matter what you do.
Well, thanks so much for being here, Nair. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
You've completely reframed what creativity means for leaders, and I think we're all walking away with stronger mental reps. If you're the one every decision flows through, if nothing ships without your blessing, if your calendar looks like a 911 dispatch board, you're not leading, you're firefighting. Take the firefighter CTO quiz and find out whether you're building an A team or accidentally becoming the bottleneck. It takes less than 3 minutes. You'll get a straight answer, no fluff. Take the firefighter CTO quiz and see where you really stand. gtle.show/firefighter quiz. Link is also in